Now, one of our panelists is, in fact, not a professor. However, he is one of their bosses. So we thought we'd have him come up first. And I've actually known Lou Nanni since he was a student at Notre Dame. And I have a tip for any of you who might have a bookstore basketball team. This guy was one of the best bookstore basketball players of all time. I'm not kidding you. He was a real whiz out there. But now he is one of the best administrators at the university. Subject to dream big. Remember where you come from. Lou Nanni, Vice President of University Relations here at Our Lady's University. Lou?
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Michael. Thanks. First secret, if you're not smart enough to be a faculty member at Notre Dame, you become an administrator. And they asked me to start things off because they were looking for somebody to set the bar very low, so everybody else will shine. So one story, what I'm going to give in my 8 to 10 minutes here is one story. Years ago, I was working at the South Bend Center for the Homeless. I was just newly married to a wonderful wife, a Notre Dame grad from Brazil. And I had had a particularly difficult week at the Center for the Homeless. I felt that the weight of the world was on my shoulders. We dealt a lot with life and death issues, a lot of traumatic family situations and so forth. And I was exhausted, physically and emotionally, when I came home on that Friday. And my wife said, "There's a Brazilian graduate student that's having a party. Would you like to go?" Now, I hadn't been married long, but I had been married long enough to know that as much as I did not want to go to the party, I was going to the party. And I just gave her the look, and I got the look back, that I was really in a bad mood. And I imagined that this was going to be the kind of party exactly as it was. It was overcrowded. It was in a small apartment. And when you're in a really bad mood, who are the people that you least want to be around? Happy people, right? And Brazilians are some of the happiest, most joyful, laid-back, loving people that you're ever going to see. And I got there, and my strategy was get as far away from my wife as possible, so that when I'm in this grumpy mood and so forth, she won't be seeing it, and I won't be hearing about it for the rest of the night, and in fact, the rest of the weekend. So I gravitated to the back. And it was just like I expected. Overcrowded, happy, Portuguese flinging off the walls and the ceiling, and at the time I understood none of it. And I found myself in a corner, and I met this Brazilian mathematician. And we started talking. And he was wonderful. And all of a sudden, after a while, coming off my self-righteous kick of working with the homeless, I asked him a question. I thought, I'm going to make this fun. And in a very flippant manner, I turned to him and I said, "So tell me, what gives you stress in life?" I said, "You lay in bed at night and your wife reaches over and you say, 'No, honey, not now, I'm working on a problem.'" I was being very sarcastic. And all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, Jess, it's exactly that way." As if someone had finally understood him. And he went on to explain to me that you don't know how lonely the life of a mathematician is. He said, our areas are so narrow and esoteric, the work that we do, that even our colleagues don't understand what we're doing. And he said, 99% of all our work results in failure. And on the rare occasion when we're able to solve the problem or solve the equation, our immediate reaction is, we didn't set the bar high enough. And we raise it higher. And he told me about a major telecommunications company that was looking for somebody to hire who would be able to put together this, make sense of this figurative and literal mess of all these wires put together. And this was before the major blackouts throughout North America. And he said that they interviewed engineer after engineer after engineer. And he said at the end of the day, they hired a mathematician, because they said that the mathematician could live without having all the answers. And I looked at this man, and my eyes filled with water that night. And I said to him, Your work is not unlike working with the homeless. You give everything that you've got every single day, and the failures far outweigh the successes. You can even look back at years of your life that's been dedicated to this effort and wonder if you've made any difference whatsoever. But you keep working as passionately, as hard as you possibly can, hoping that you'll make some difference, that you'll plant a seed that maybe you'll never see how it blossoms. And I walked out of that party that night, and I grabbed my wife, a different man, and I said, honey, I met this Brazilian mathematician. I said I was with him for 5 minutes, and I was getting excited about numbers. And I said, I don't know who he is, but we've got to make more room for him in our life because he is faithful and passionate about what he does. You want to think big in your lives? Find what you're passionate about. Find what makes you tick. Have the courage to do what is singly you. Take risks. Don't be afraid to fail. Push yourself. Put yourself in positions where you are the only person who speaks English. You're the only person of this color. You're the only person with a college degree, because it'll be in those places that you learn the most about yourself. And it will drive you to find what you're passionate about. It's okay to be restless. Stay restless. Don't just go to law school or get an MBA degree when you don't know what you're going to do. There's good reasons to go to law school and get MBA degrees, but do it if you are passionate about it. And that's what I learned that night from that mathematician. And I carry that memory with me every day. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you find what's uniquely you, you will do big things in this world. You will think big about it, and you will affect people along the way, like that mathematician did to me, in a half-an-hour conversation that you will never know, but that you will infect them to want to do more, to do better, to do bigger, and to think big. Thanks, and God bless.
Thank you, Lou. And you still have very good moves. Very good moves. That was excellent. And I think something very important that he said, too. I'm sure there's students in here now who somewhere along the trail at Notre Dame discovered a professor teaching something that maybe you had to take, but it was, in fact, that professor who ended up inspiring you.